Today's finally the day where we see that the devs have more or less been listening to our complaints over the last several years. Although most classes seem to have gotten decent reworks, there are a few that are really out of the game. People are gonna reroll, people aren't gonna touch them. Succession Tamer. The Awakened Sorc rework isn't necessarily as busted as the Striker or Warrior, but they did give the class a lot of things we needed. Also, there's just a lot of big changes. Keep watching to see a little bit about the Awakened Sorc rework and let me know in the comments what you guys think about her. First up, so there are a lot of changes with the skills. There's a lot of different skills that did get removed. High Kick, Guilty Conscience, Eruption of Guilt, Sharp Nails, Shield of Darkness, Scattering Shadow, Shadow Riot, Low Kick, and Sinister Shadow were all removed from the Awakened Sorc rework. They did make a lot of different changes to skills also. Just to keep things fast, I'll go over the most notable ones. Imminent Doom received a decrease in cooldown. Whereas Shield of Darkness was totally eliminated, it was now added to Dark Trade, so when you hit your Dark Trade on the hotkey, you'll get the Shield of Darkness DP buff. Yes, it is still a 4-minute cooldown. Bloody Calamity went from 30-second to 20-second cooldown. Claws of Darkness went from down LMB to up LMB, and now Dark Flame is activated without using the skill. Nightcrow had an iframe applied while airborne. The knockdown was removed from Ultimate Dark Flame's last hit in PvP. Shadow Eruption now has a super armor. Rushing Crow has been changed to Wings of the Crow, and you can use it with your scythe with forward E, and it has a frontal guard. Flow Revived Nightmare no longer uses Fragment of Darkness. You can now move while using Karshan's Nightmare. The Q buff effect was removed from Shadow Leap. Turnback Slash has a new animation. Turnback Slash can now feed straight into the second hit of Dead Hunt. And finally, we got a new skill called Swirling Darkness. It looks like a little mix between a Grim and a Turnback Slash. Here's a little preview of the TBS and the Swirling Darkness animations. And this is what it looks like when you move the Karshan's Nightmare. I am struggling a bit with how to use this, how to move it while also still getting those extra couple hits, but we'll see. Probably one of my favorite things from the Sorc rework that I've seen so far is they reduced the cooldown for the Awakened iframe. You can't spam it like we all thought you were going to be able to. You can see when I tried to do it spammed, there is just a little tiny bit of lateral movement where you're unprotected between the frontal guard and the iframe. But now you don't have to wait through the entire lingering frontal guard animation. You can get through part of it, most of it, and then do your iframe so that you don't have that weird little staggered movement anymore. This change will, I think, help people who really struggled to get that lingering frontal guard animation down. But people with significant stam management issues will probably overuse it, and then, they're in the same boat. I was dueling BA with some guildies that also main Sorc, and while the rework isn't bad, we do have some complaints about the Awakened Sorc rework. I think one of the biggest complaints we have is there's just something that feels off with our CC resets. Gone are the days where you can BM permakick someone to death on Sorc. You can't do that, the CC resets are just kind of wonky now. And that was something that really set apart good Sorcs from bad Sorcs. I'm a bad Sorc, I can get one combo off, but I couldn't get my CC resets off. A really good Sorc can combo me, CC reset me, combo me again, I'm dead. That's it. They're a good Sorc because they know their CC resets. And now it just kind of feels a little bit more like a brain dead class. It's still not totally brain dead, but it doesn't take the level that it used to. So we're kind of conflicted because, we want essays. Everybody wants more essays. We just got an essay on Shadow Eruption. That's huge. That used to be an unprotected knockdown. We got Swirling Darkness. That's an essay. It seems like a pretty powerful move. But now it feels like we are just kind of any other class. We might as well be playing LAN. We're just super armor trading. It just kind of feels like they kept the Sorc aesthetic, but they took away what made Sorc Sorc. We just are feeling really slow. Maybe it's because we're not used to the skills yet, but something feels off. And you can see here as we fight, we're just super protected from all sides. Like, we have more frontals, we have more super armors. This guildie and I, the other day, we fought pre-rework, and we were both catching each other, we were both knocking each other down. You know, we had some really good plays, and today when we fought, it just felt like we could not catch each other, which is really good because, you know, even though Sorc feels off, you know, that means we're gonna be harder to catch, it's going to be harder to CC us because we can actually keep up in a super armor trade now. Honestly, I've always loved my bond violation because I just think it's a little BM, you know, swoop in, no one expects it with the frontal guard, whatever. But now if you're super armor trading people, like, you can actually, I feel like the TBS super armor core might actually be the better option. It is tricky though because now Russian Crow has that frontal guard on it, so you can Russian Crow into a frontal guard violation. Compared to fighting this guildie pre-rework, it just felt like after the rework we were moving super slow. Like, maybe it's because I didn't do my skill add-ons, but we did have Elk Stones running, so I don't know what it is. Honestly, compared to the flashier reworks like Warrior, Striker, DK, it really does feel like Sorc kind of got the short end of the stick. But the rework itself for Awakened Sorc isn't bad. Like, it's not bad by any means, it's just weird and different, and looking at all these other crazy reworks, you know, it just kind of feels like they didn't give us enough love. But what they did was really helpful for the class for the most part. I think in small scale, Sorc is gonna take a hot second for everyone to get used to, you know, like, it's weird for us to be able to super armor trade, like, it just kind of feels a little slow and clunky at the moment till we get used to it. But the super armors and all these changes will probably really help us one-on-one. For large scale, I think Sorc's gonna be a lot crazier than it used to be, especially T1, where the damage on Sorc didn't really feel super great. You know, like, it's a good class, but it's, you know, very hit or miss in large scale. Now we can go in, super armor trade, get out. You know, we're much more protected than we used to be. I don't think people will roll off because the class is now bad. I think if people roll off, it's gonna be because there's a change they don't like, and now all these other classes are so good. You know, it's like, well, why am I gonna stay on Sorc if I don't like this thing when I could swap to this class and absolutely fucking just love everything about it? I haven't tried PvE yet with the Sorc rework. I think it's gonna be pretty good. Just hearing everyone else on their reworks grinding, like at Oryx grinding, at Bloody Monastery grinding, it sounds like people are getting much better trash than they used to. I pretty much expect the same for Sorc. So I personally don't feel like the Sorc rework is really gonna change my gameplay. I personally co-main Auk Sorc, Auk Witch. I bring my Auk Sorc to grind spots like Bloody Monastery, Oryx, Baragi, places, you know, that are a little higher end. And I bring my Auk Witch to any party grind spot. I use my Sorc for small group PvP, RBF, if we're in a GVG and we're like super outnumbered, you know, I'll bring the Sorc because it's easier for me to rat out and peel for my teammates than it is on my Auk Witch. But I always bring my Auk Witch to Nota Wars because heals, buff, and Auk Caster is just built different on T1s, especially after the rework. Compared with the Auk Witch rework, I really am enjoying that much more than the Sorc rework personally. Like, the Sorc rework is good, but just compared to Auk Witch and all these other reworks, it just doesn't hit the same. I know PA is going to have to do a lot of class balancing because they changed just so much at one time, but I am worried that they're going to nerf Sorc. I think the rework put it in a very good position. And I haven't looked into all the other reworks too much, but just based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like the Sorc rework has put us on a level, you know, that can compete with the other reworks. We'll see though, they're gonna be doing class balancing. I have only fought Sorcs, I haven't done PvE, so I just kind of have to test out the rework a little bit more to get a better image of it. Overall, it's good, just weird. Like, our CC resets don't feel the same. We can SA trade now, but I mean, it's good changes. Like, they did some really good stuff for Sorc. We needed the extra accuracy. It's good changes for the most part. Thanks for listening, and if you're an Ox Sorc, let me know how you feel about our rework, or if you're not an Ox Sorc, how you feel about your own rework, how you think it might compare to ours.